As a serving CFO, it's taken me over 20 years to get to this position. I mean, it doesn't happen overnight. And there's going to be a lot of you out there that aspire to becoming CFOs yourself one day. But the key here is in the early to mid part of your career, most often the focus is always on your technical skills, certainly at least 90-10 or 80-20. But as you sort of get through your career and you want to transition into a CFO role, you've got to start developing what's called the CFO mindset. And that is partly due to focusing on the non-technical skills. You see, to develop your non-technical skills cannot be underestimated. There's a lot of accounting and tax personnel, finance people like yourself I've seen out there who are excellent technically. They are brilliant, but unfortunately, sometimes that can also be a barrier in terms of going up the career scale and getting into leadership roles like CFO roles. So in this video, what I'm going to give you from my own experience are 5 key non-technical skills that you should focus on should you aspire to a leadership or CFO role. Number 1 is self-confidence, and this is absolutely key, crucial as you progress in your career. Now, please don't actually mistake self-confidence for ego or self-esteem. Now, unfortunately, I've seen a lot of finance personnel and non-finance personnel with high egos and actually levels of entitlement just because you have the qualifications, just because you've done a certain amount of years in finance or other roles, that, you know, there almost is a sense of entitlement that you should actually climb the ladder. Actually, it does not work that way. Self-confidence is really about your own ability, confidence in your own ability to do what needs to be done and to be able to deliver at the level of quality that is required in such a senior position. Number 2 is professional credibility. And a bit like self-confidence, this is something that you can be building over the course of your career, starting literally from day 1. Credibility is so important in order to inspire confidence in you from others. If you build up a reputation over time, consisting of things like trust, integrity, knowledge, consistent behaviors, for example, doing what you say you're going to do, then this certainly reinforces your professional credibility. And it takes time to build professional credibility. So don't try and sort of short circuit this and do this in a very short and condensed amount of time. Yes, you're going to sort of get credits over that time, but along the journey of your career, in any career, you are going to make mistakes as well. So testimonials, feedback, etc., that you can display on portals like LinkedIn, for example, are always a step in the right direction in displaying your professional credibility. And number 3 is rapport. In other words, effective communication. And unfortunately, this is where I see a lot of finance people fall down. And it's not surprising in the sense that as finance professionals, you know, we're very much number focused, a lot of crunching of numbers, a lot of analysis of numbers, etc. And the whole verbal and written side of things probably end up being somewhat secondary, although it depends on what kind of finance role you're actually in. As you work towards a CFO or leadership role, then your ability to communicate is absolutely crucial. I really can't emphasize this enough, both written and on the verbal sense. You've got to be able to take financial information, a lot of data sometimes, and you've got to translate that into simple, plain English, if that's your first language, or whichever your language it is that you're actually communicating in, to non-finance personnel and also finance people, so external agencies, a tax office, regulators, obviously senior management or shareholders, and also subordinates, those people who are working under you and with you as part of a team. So you've got to really be that 360-degree person who's able to communicate in all scenarios. Now, your ability to communicate effectively and build a rapport is not just about talking. Again, unfortunately, I see a lot of finance people fall over here. They get onto meetings and they just can't stop talking. They think by talking, they're communicating effectively. Actually, you're doing the reverse. That is counterintuitive and counterproductive. You've got to learn the skill of talking when you need to speak and saying the right things in that particular moment or circumstance, whether it may be, if a question's being asked or if a clarification is required in a meeting situation or a one-on-one situation. You've just got to say enough in order to deliver enough to satisfy that particular request. And let's not underestimate the power of body language. This is 50 to 60% of your communication. And it doesn't matter if you're meeting virtually, like I'm talking to the camera right now. The fact of the matter is, I could easily just wear a t-shirt or something scruffy or very casual, and that will actually dilute my body language, the message I am giving through my body. Look at my hand gestures, the way I use my hands in terms of communicating. All all of this is part of communicating. And as you actually rise up the ladder, you need to be more attuned with this style and level of communication, not just the words coming out your mouth. Number 4 is strategic thinking. And this is where you really start to level up to a C-suite individual, whether it's a CFO, CMO, CEO, or anything else. Absolutely key, crucial. And this comes from your level of thinking. Now, this is one of the areas, again, where a lot of finance people struggle to make that transition, particularly in my experience, if you're going from a financial controller type of role and trying to step up to a CFO, where as a financial controller, you've been looking at historical numbers, historical accounts, closing the books, producing statutory accounts, etc. You're again very much sort of immersed in a lot of the detail, which you have to let go of if you're going to get to this level. And the ability to actually influence and contribute to strategic direction, to strategic plans, and actually adapt those plans according to sort of, how the business is performing is absolutely key, crucial. And strategy isn't that straightforward. It's not just a document where you sort of put together and write a load of stuff and fluff them. You've really got to think it through. It's about thinking power. You mix that with a lot of research that you're doing with historical data. You've got to bring all the complex pieces together to form a bit of a jigsaw that is future looking, that has foresight. But strategy is not just about the high level stuff. It does involve an appreciation and understanding of quite a lot of detail as well, which again, you've got to connect the dots and put all these complex things together in order to formulate the strategy itself. And that's where I think finance people, accountants generally do have a bit of an advantage, which is why some CFOs become or go on to become CEOs. We are quite comfortable in the detail. We're well versed with detail. We're used to it through our career. So therefore, to pick up and understand the detail, to put that into a strategic intent or direction is something that I find is a bit of a strength when it comes to finance people. And number 5, last but not least, is leadership. Now, what does leadership actually mean? Again, one of the most common misconceptions I've seen time and time again is you've got effective managers who think they are leaders or effective leaders just because they're good managers. Management and leadership are 2 different things. Now, that's not to say that managers can't be good leaders or develop into good leaders. Absolutely not. But more often than not, unfortunately, it doesn't happen, again, through my experience. Now, with managers, it's more aligned with a role or a title or a specific set of tasks or processes that you've got to run. And managers are really there who are responsible for ensuring that happens. Quite routine, often, sometimes process driven, and is quite well defined. Whereas leadership is the ability to get people to follow you, where you inspire people and they follow you through choice, not through obligation. And there are 6 characteristics that I can list here which probably demonstrate good leadership. Number 1 is recognition of your employees for work and jobs well done. Number 2 is fairness. Number 3 is leading by example. Number 4 is your own intelligence and competence. Number 5 is business knowledge. This is a really, really important one. And number 6, finally, is strong ethics and morals. So I hope this video has been useful to you if you have thoughts and aspirations of getting to a C-suite executive, whether it's a CFO or any other C-suite executive like the CMO or CEO. But one of the key questions I always get asked is, but Tony, we are working more and more remote. So therefore, the traditional CFO or CEO is actually now changing. That role is changing. And you're absolutely right. We're working more virtually, we're working remotely. So how can you actually aspire to become an effective CFO or equivalent in a remote working role? And this video that's just come up on screen now attempts to answer that. Hopefully it'll be useful and give you an insight as to how you can be effective as a remote CFO or a virtual CFO or any other C-suite executive.